Hey guys, what's going on? This is just a real quick intro. We're going to jump right into the video. This is the long anticipated Expedition SEMA FJ built by the Garage Shop. Now, in addition to the interview with Aaron, which is absolutely awesome, we also stopped by PAC Racing Springs and GearFX to find out what they contributed to the build as well. So we got a lot of great information for you coming up. You're really going to enjoy the video. Now, the reason we do this is because adventure is necessary. We want you guys to outfit, explore, get out there and find a little bit of adventure on your own. Now, if you think we can help, head on over to overlandbound.com and enjoy this video. Let's go. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in, really appreciate it, and I'm super excited today. I am here with Aaron of the Garage Shop is your shop, and when we were at Expo West, I was looking around and I said, man, if I could do a walk around of one rig, which one would it be? And now we got it here behind us, so it's awesome. Yeah, here we are. So really excited to share it with you guys. We'll get into the details. Before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit about what this project was all about? Like, how did we end up with this FJ?
Well, it's a long story, but to make it short, about 10 years ago, I went out west to do a contract work for a race team, and I met a fella named Ed Goff. Yeah. And we became best friends the first time I met him. And he was into wheeling. His dad did a lot of, expedition wheeling back in the 70s and 80s. In fact, Ed still has his dad's truck, still uses it. Wow. Wheels it hard. And so we went a couple trips with Ed, and Ed's like, you need your own truck, you need your own truck. And I'm thinking, yeah, I need my own truck. And we found this in Oregon, and it was axle deep in mud and pretty much bone stock. It'd been molested a little bit. Yeah. And so we bought it and drug it home, worked on it, and we made a few trips, had a tent, plastic box, a tent, and a cooktop stove. And went out and made a few pretty eventful trips with it, and then it's my hobby. Yeah. The core part of my business at the shop is vintage race car restorations, and this was my hobby. Yeah. So in 2015, we got invited to go to SEMA with our land speed truck. Mm-hmm. And while we were out there, we're sitting at a little bar, and I see this Jeep go by that had saran wrap on the tires and guys in white gloves pushing it. I won't forget it. Sure. So I'm sitting there, it just came to me. We got to do something. I called Ed, navigator, wheeler, outdoorsman. Ed's like, when do we leave? So I said, well, we got to build a truck first. So we talked about it and worked on a few things, and mile marker winches, we talked to them a little bit, and they got real excited about it. And so around March, we started building the truck, and Ed would fly in and fly out, and we stripped it to the bare frame and linked the rear and just redid everything. Completely gutted it down to the bare frame and reassembled it like we always wanted to. Yeah. Got the truck done, 2-3 days before we were going to leave. We weren't in a panic, it just worked out that way. Yeah. Ed flies in, we load the truck up, and we did it in 2016 for SEMA. We left Murphy, North Carolina, and made it to Las Vegas, Nevada, using the TAT and the California Trail and a few other trails. How many miles? 5,500. Yeah, 5,500. So weeks and weeks leading up to the day you left, you must have been going through trials. You must have been taking it on, shakedown expeditions. Actually, I was in Europe. I got back 2 weeks before we were going to leave.
Yeah.
And Steve Hogue, guy that works with me at the shop, you know, he was finishing up the wiring and stuff.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing. He goes, "You're going to test drive this?" I said, "Yeah, we're going to drive it to Las Vegas next week." I said, "How much more of a test drive do you need?"
Let's hit the road.
Yeah, we drove it, got lunch in it, and loaded it out and drove off. So
yeah, right on. Hey, you guys, I want to mention, Aaron just mentioned really quickly that he has a land speed truck. Now that land speed truck has 7 world records for speed. So his shop here in beautiful North Carolina is the real deal. It's very serious. So go and check it out and see some of his work there. Tell us about this rig.
It started out, it's a 1970 FJ40. It's got the split hood, and it just worked out that way. You know, it's what we found, and it's what I could afford at the time, and it was a roach.
Do you mind my asking what you spent for it when you pulled it out of the mud?
If I remember, it was running and driving, but we had to put a battery in it, and I think we paid $6,500 for it.
Okay.
And drove it on a trailer and took it home.
Yep.
And it was
so it at least ran.
It was straight out of 1976.
Right. Nothing done.
It had an antenna, CB whip antennas on it. It was
cool.
You know, it was definitely used on a ranch.
Cool. Right on. All right. Hey, let's just start from the front here. And as we get to those topics that, you know, I know you look at it and you say, wow, that is a damn fine rig. And you're right. But this has been a partnership. And we've talked about that. You have partners with so many folks that have provided the components of your rig. As we get to it, you can tell us a little bit about that. Let's start right up. Yeah, go ahead.
On that note, you know, our partners, our companies, it's like when we deal with them, a lot of them, I'd rather buy something and have faith in it than take something and pretend it's good. And the people that are partners with us on this truck, we trust them. And they trust us because they're putting their products on a truck that's going on a pretty long journey to a pretty big show. And you don't want people at the show talking about it. Well, you know, your product, you know, they failed because your product failed. So they're really putting their necks out on the line. You know, it's like with the Turo Tires. It's a great company, great people. They have a real passion for what they're doing, and they spend a lot of time and effort on that. I mean, I have 4 brand new sticker tires at the shop in the showroom. But I'm running the same tires that I ran last year. Why? Why not?
Yeah, still good.
They're good tires, and anybody can fire a new set of tires on for a trip like this. But if you really believe in what you're doing, run what you got.
Now we're going to talk to GearFX a little bit later and find out more about what they do. Tell us what you did for this year. Like you're in your third year, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Year.
What'd you do here?
You know, last year after we did the Oregon Trail, I felt that the truck we had the first year, we improved it, and I'm glad we did because our tire package, our shock package, everything that we changed for the trip last year improved the truck tremendously. And so for 2018, when it articulated, it wasn't very confidence inspiring.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating at times because you could see a really cool mine and it's just right there. And you're like, you know, you're hanging off of this and that. And it just makes it not fun.
Right.
So Ed and I decided that this year we need to get the balance in the truck. So we needed to do what we want it to do and what we feel it's capable to do. So the decision was made. We basically cut everything out from underneath the front of the truck. We called Rough Stuff. They built us a brand new housing, put their Hellfire knuckles on them, which is a spin-off of the stock FJ80 knuckles. They got their bulletproof big giant pieces. And so, you know, they with those, their high steer arms, and then FabTech and the Dirt Logic 2.5s, they came up. We did coilovers for the front, and then we used the Rough Stuff's 3-link, and then inside everything was RCB 300M axles, nitro gears, Aussie lockers, Adams drive shafts, and then Kurt Williams from Cruiser Outfitters out in Utah. Kurt actually helped us with this truck, like from day one, 10 years ago.
Got it.
And so Kurt stepped up to the plate, and I mean, he knew the part numbers right. We put brand new hubs with chromoly lockers in them. I mean, Kurt really stepped up to the plate with his knowledge and helped us get the correct parts to assemble the FJ80 hubs on the housing. So after we did, you know, we did all that, and then wanted to get it really dialed in, so we made it 8 inches wider. We're already there, so we made the whole truck 8 inches wider and 2 inches lower. And to get our geometry and all our shock valving and our spring packages correct, we went down and seen Tom and Goose at PAC Racing, and they work on a lot of off-road stuff, a lot of NASCAR stuff. They have the engineering capabilities in-house. Everything's there. We gave them some numbers from the truck and everything from our mock-up numbers, and boom, they nailed it. We're a 250 over 300 in the front, dual rate springs, and it's the truck. We did a test with it out in Arizona right before Expo West.
So for PAC Racing, you give them your Expedition weight, and you give them
install shock heights at ride heights,
shock heights,
lengths,
and then the kind of driving you're going to do, which is basically you basically are going to ask them for the impossible, right? And then they dial it in for you. That's what they do. They say, here, this is exactly what you need.
And along with those guys, they also make the Trail Series sway bars. There's the rated, you know, off-road sway bars, and we got those on the front and the rear.
All right, you guys. Hey, so I'm here in North Carolina, as you know, and PAC Racing did some suspension components for the Expedition FJ. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm here with Goose. And
hello, everyone.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys do here, and then we'll get into the FJ.
Man, we do it all.
Oh, you do it all, right on.
So, you know, being here in North Carolina, we're in Race City, USA. So between all sorts of racing, we've got the lake here. We're doing boat stuff. Valve Springs is where we got a big start, but suspension springs really took off too. And when we moved into our facility here in North Carolina, we really got into the service work and taking care of guys locally through all sorts of racing that's around through here. We're lucky, we're close to the beach, we're in the mountains, so that work runs into a lot of you guys with Overland and stuff. And, you know, we've got service work that we can take care of from all sorts of manufacturers. We laugh about, we love to take care of everybody because everybody's on springs. So that's where we're at right now.
Right on. And one of the things you were saying a few minutes ago when we were talking is, we have a saying, it doesn't matter what you drive, it doesn't matter where you drive it. It doesn't matter what you drive, and so and with overlanding, there are all kinds of different applications. And you were saying that you guys kind of cater to that, right?
Well, what's great is we're a tuning facility, and we've got parts available for everything. We love to work with sway bar systems or with shock tunings and springs, and really get your system that you've got, because guys that's built their rig is already, they've got a feel for it, they've got their gear set up, or they've grown into something else, and that's where they need to change. You know, trails get harder, your gear gets harder, your family gets bigger, whatever you're into starts changing and evolving. So, you know, there's a lot of great shock manufacturers and suspension companies that have already got a great baseline, and you've probably already got that on your rig. But as things change, lifetime, you know, you do a big run out west, or you make a long trip and it's time for that service work, you notice one's weeping, or you're tired of that little thing. A lot of times guys come from a stock setup to a nice suspension setup, and they really don't know how much farther they can go. You know, everybody's not really sure if they want, they're not a trophy truck, you know, but they're not a mall crawler at the same time. But but with the aftermarket support, your rig can go so much farther than you're used to it going, and that's where we want to help push it. The tunability, what we want to do is you can call and talk to the tech guys and tell us what you're fighting or what you really dig about your ride. You know, like man, twice a year I go on this big ride and it kind of beats me up, but it's a daily driver the rest of the time. Or I did this to it and now the wife hates riding with me because it just beats us up. You know, what do you want to sacrifice and what do you want to gain? And be realistic. You know, everybody wants to think they're a race car driver, but what are we really doing with this thing? So that's where you can kind of talk through us, and we might talk you off a ledge a little bit and say, dude, if we do this, you're not going to like this part of it.
I talked about a 2.5 inch lift or a 3 inch lift, and you immediately said, yeah, but with what? Right? And
that's where us as suspension people, and we kind of, not being braggadocious, but we went to that next level because we start talking in spring rates and heights, and the industry speaks in lifts, and it's like fingers on chalkboard to us because we get that question, and guys will say, man, I bought this 2.5 inch lift and it's sagged or it's way higher or whatever it is. And that's where we start bringing in some of the equipment we got here of spring smashers and things like that. So an example of something like this, if you had the setup on the front of a 4Runner and you said, I've got this is what they recommended, and it rides good, but it sets like 2 inches lower than I want it to do. Then we can talk with you on the phone and say, what I need is eye-to-eye installed height when you're at home, geared up, ready to party, how you want to be.
Yep.
And then I'll bring it here and I'll put that on the machine, and I can physically smash this with this load cell and get a number and know this dude needs this amount of pounds at this wheel to be the ride height that he wants. A lot of times, is the vehicle oversprung or is it over dampened? And that's where we'll go through. We can dyno shocks and we can see, and we'll talk with you and see if you're really into, you know, is it when I blast through speed bumps or fire roads or, you know, those sort of conditions, and you say, if I'm on a washboard thing, it's just chattering to death and it wants to wash off into the ditch. Or every time I come across something, I'm G'ing out the rear. You know, and you can tell us what kind of scenarios you're running into, and we might say, well, if you're just all the time G'ing out, we could put some compression in the shock and revalve that, or we just need to go up in spring rate, especially if it's low. You know, we started PAC Racing and we were producing bars for Ultra 4 racing. Full-blown King of the Hammer stuff. These guys are twisting these up. Those bars have lifetime warranties on them, and I think we've only ever replaced 2 of them. They were used as a bumper to get up the back door. I like to build rigs like Expedition stuff at 50-50 because you run into it a lot with rock crawlers. Guys say, I just want all the droop I can get because it looks rad in photos. And it does. But what's not cool is spitting springs out on the trail, and it makes one good photo, but it's a pain for the rest of the day. So I think in any sort of the rigs that you guys are working on, at least 5 inches of up travel, talking on solid stuff, not independent, you know, motion ratio things, but 5 inches of up travel on a 1-to-1 shock is where you want to be. That's a nice living quarters. Because a lot of these are still daily driving-ish, or at least we're going to get ice cream into things. You know, it's not just trailer queen stuff. And that's where I love that kind of ride is it's not trailer. I mean, everybody prides on, I can drive this thing, I can wheel it, and I can go home. But we are limited on stroke because, you know, most of your stuff you're seeing 10-inch, 12-inch travel stuff because we can't get the up travel. We start putting 14s. I mean, you're not running 40s on these things. So it's 35s, start creeping into 37s. So, you know, you're seeing 10 or 12 inches of stroke, which means we don't have a ton of droop because we got to maintain that up travel. You know, you get your stuff from whatever manufacturer it is, and it's a pretty good baseline of where you want to be. But everybody's rig's different and everything's moving. So that's where we want to come in and kind of help is if we're working on shock work or we're working on whatever it is. You know, we've got guys in the front that are racing everything and they're wheeling everything. So we're a bunch of folks that are messing with this. You know, you're not getting a weirdo call center. You're getting guys that's actually, well, here's what I'm doing on my car. You know, and we kind of pass things around too of, well, this dude's working on this. You know, we've got a good baseline of what direction you need to go.
Great, great. Hey, so you guys did a bunch of work on Aaron's FJ, and that is an Expedition build.
Sure.
Where'd you start with that, and what'd you end up with? What'd you guys
do? They had a relationship with Dirt Logic, and so they brought that stuff to us, and it was really close, you know, and I think that machine went through an evolution too. It went from leafs in the front to 3-link, and things grow, and you get more experience through the couple years of wheeling of what you had, and that's when you can start fine-tuning stuff. And that's where we want to keep pushing guys, and let's get better. You know, what you had's pretty good, but where can we go from there? And what he was getting into is many road miles as that thing's doing, but it's wheeling the whole time. You know, it had to be pretty close everywhere. You know, you're not getting out and disconnecting sway bars, and you're not, you know, we had to be ready to party the whole time. So that's where we went with a little different spring package. You know, we went softer, kind of got it to the height that it needed to be geared up, but we went up in sway bar. And that's where some of this Trail Series stuff came in, where we get up, you know, we've got different diameters available in all these different lengths. So you might be in a 3/4 bar, or we can step up to a 1-inch or 7/8, you know, so we can really tailor that bar diameter and different arm lengths to what you're trying to achieve. Right on, right on.
Well, they're about to launch off on this expedition through the states.
The worst part about dealing with customers is when they do something really rad like this, and you're here at home. You're like, well, I guess that was fun. I don't know.
Well, watch the pictures.
But social media, I mean, that's where we couldn't follow along on guys before. So how do we do that now? We talk about getting into the woods, and how do we follow along when guys go on these epic trips?
So
that's where you come in, right?
Right on. Right on. Hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. You guys, check them out. They took the time to talk with us today. We really appreciate it. So check them out. Really appreciate it.
All day long. Give us a call. We can get your rig right.
Right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Working with those guys, and then really having real engineers and real engineering gone into the suspension, it's really tame on the asphalt, and it's an animal off-road. It soaks up the bumps like they're not even there.
You guys do everything. I mean, every end of the spectrum. So you're asking a lot of your suspension.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, all right. So your winch carrier, I'm going to assume that's all your fab, your shop's fab.
This is a lot of these projects on this truck kind of evolved because we did this. Okay, now we need to do that.
Yeah.
So you just can't do one thing and then expect everything else to be okay. We decided that when we put the V8 in it, that we wanted to put the GM box. So I got a 12-to-1 NASCAR steering box. It's basically a GM box. It's highly worked over.
Yeah.
But it's one turn lock to lock. So it makes it really, really good. And you know, if I want to slow the steering rate down, I'll just change the steering wheel because we have a quick connect steering wheel. So I got a bigger wheel and a smaller one. But I usually just use the smaller wheel, 14-inch wheel, and it likes it. It's comfortable.
Right.
You know, it's real comfortable. But when we moved the box up here, we ended up having a lot of the bumper, the original chassis, still sticking out. And with the winch mount and the steering box up here, we really wanted to beef up the front of the chassis. And so what we did is the center part of this bumper is 250 wall 3x4 steel tubing. And then we put the guard on for the winch, and the guard's 095, but it's a guard for the winch, but it also triangulates the front rails. So the rails aren't twisting around as it steers. So it gives that steering box a whole, you know, it really beefs it in there.
Right. It's solid.
Yeah.
It's solid. All right, sitting in here, maybe a brand folks aren't familiar with so much on the consumer side. I know they have a long history with the military. They've been making bulletproof winches for a long time. You have the mile marker winch?
Yeah, it is one of the first partners we had with this project. Called Ed Whitty down there and kind of threw this across his table just out of the blue, and he's like, that's pretty cool. So now, you know, like I said, we have 3 people that thinks it's cool. So
this has got to be a great idea.
We got 3 people now that think this is cool. You know, it's a good idea. So they came on board with their SEC 15s, 15,000-pound winch. And when we did the winch system, a lot of people asked me why I didn't center up the rear end, you know, and put a straight through drive shaft or drive transfer case on it. I wanted to be able to run my winch cable underneath the truck and winch backwards because Ed and I wheel alone a lot, one truck, and in the backcountry, and I've never really gotten stuck where I wanted to winch forward. I'm not saying it's not possible, but when you're driving this and you got to winch forward, you just might need to rethink the whole concept of what you're trying to, you're trying to go and what you're doing.
Maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, you should just turn around and stop.
Right.
So, you know, so that's what that was designed for, and we've used it quite a few times.
Cool, you just wind it right underneath the truck and pull yourself backwards.
Yeah, there's nothing underneath the housings. It's like 2 pulleys, and then, you know, here's our snatch block is mounted inside the frame here, so that's handy.
Yeah. I mean, your bar is very high.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you said, you cannot have your stuff fail out there.
There's no, if it fails, it could be bad.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, you mentioned your power plant. Why don't we open up the hood and you can tell us a little bit about what you did for the power. All right. Oh, look, it's electric. I didn't know you guys did that.
It's an electric FJ. We're going to put that rocket engine on top of this sumbitch, too. We got one. You see it sitting out there?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
This, basically, after we blew up the 6-cylinder by lack of knowledge that all the oil would go to the front of the pan like that, it was too much money to replace the 6-cylinder, and I'm like, well, let's just do a small block. Well, this motor's been in here 10 years. We bought it out of a junkyard. It was almost a new motor. We knew the guy that had the truck, but still, it was in an old truck that he had just put a new motor in, and I got it for $500.
Awesome.
Yeah, I thought, oh, we were doing really good.
It had never been rebuilt before?
No.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was really great. It's like, wow, okay, we got a motor. It's $500. You know, that's way better than the $5,000-6,000 it was going to cost to rebuild the 6-cylinder.
Yeah.
Well, $7,000 later, you know, the SM465 transmission, advanced adapters, you know, clutch, and sorting out the cooling and just everything to make a V8 conversion in this thing be legitimate for a 5,000-mile journey. It was a big undertaking.
Yeah.
It's basically a stock small block. It's a Rochester carburetor. We tried a Holly. It just didn't work. And the reason it's not injected and all that is this truck is built to fix in an AutoZone parking lot. If we have a problem, I want to be able to, I don't want custom one-off engine parts and pieces and things like that. I want to be able to roll into Farson, Wyoming to the local Napa store that sells barbed wire fences too and get the parts I need to get us back on the road.
So 350 small block Chevy, naturally aspirated carburetor, just analog.
Yeah, just
not a lot of computers on it.
Not,
cool. Yeah.
So you know, it's been a great little motor. Doug Marion, when we linked it this year, Doug Marion built us a real nice set of stainless fender well headers for it. Those are custom that he did in our shop. He came to the shop and built them and just did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Stainless steel mufflers, and they're all tucked up underneath there, real quiet. And and that's it. I don't want to hear a blah blah blah. You know, when we're out, I like it to be kind of quiet. So, but. You know, one of the big things that we ran into was cooling, and we battled that a lot. We had 2-3 different radiators in it. When GearFX was CNR Racing, CNR is now PWR, CNR by PWR. We put an aluminum radiator in it out of one of the NASCAR Cup cars, and it runs at a solid 200 all the time, everywhere,
no matter what.
No matter what,
great.
and. You know, that radiator's been in there. This is the 4th trip it's made. And we've never had an issue, you know, with cooling or anything like that. Now, these two tanks here, you know, we had these sprint car oil tanks that they put in sprint cars. I said, well, let's just put 2 of those and we carry 8 quarts of oil here and 8 quarts of water over there for emergencies. And it added a little nose weight, and it kind of, you know, it's always warm, so it's not going to freeze. It's not going to get dirty. It's not going to get damaged. And so it was a win-win situation. And those are the kind of the little details that we work on after every trip, whether it's interior, exterior, suspension. So it's like an ongoing evolution of, you know, the first year we come back, I mean, I think we had like a legit 10-page legal paper list of, we need to fix this.
Why don't we start walking around? You can talk about the interior a little bit, and then we'll open it up on the back. And,
we can start with Ed's side.
Yeah, let's start with Ed's side.
Let's start with the important side.
All right. Is this his? So this is his domain here.
This is his side. And
all right.
I'm really not allowed to be over here.
So you approached it. You're
very
approaching
gently,
it kind of cautiously. I noticed that.
Very, very gently.
All right. All right, what should we know about his side of things on the nav side? What do you got in here?
Ed, basically right here is where we have an InReach that's coupled to an iPad up there.
Okay.
And that's what he uses. We primarily use paper maps. But when we use the paper maps, we also use the Garmin in-dash that we've built in the dash here that'll give us GPS coordinates. It also really couples well with the InReach with some of the options on that Garmin that this Garmin does not have. So we have a lot of capabilities, mapping capabilities, you know, with all 3 of them coupled together. And when all that fails, you just get the binoculars out.
Get the binoculars, a spotting scope, you get on top.
Look for a cowboy camp.
Right. and actually, seriously, I mean, you guys have been up and spotting and trying to navigate by sight as we have in some cases.
Yeah, we have trying to find something that looked man-made. I mean, we were obviously off a trail. I mean, we were on a 2-track that went to a single track to no track to a very old fence line to nothing. And the terrain wasn't too bad, but you know, all the GPSs were down. Nobody knew where we were. We didn't know where we were, so the best thing you can do is get to some high ground and try to find a cowboy camp or something that looks man-made, an old mine, anything like that, and just kind of point that direction. It's not a terrifying experience. It's actually, I enjoy it. That's part. When nothing works, it's fun.
Then you're exploring.
Then you're
exploring.
You can honestly say nobody's been here.
Right.
well, at least nobody else that didn't know what they were doing besides us. So, but this is Ed's side. This is his communications here, both the CB radio and the VHF rugged radio there. We do that just so I like to have both communications, because sometimes we'll have people join us and they might have one or the other.
Right.
And then down here we have a handheld that we can use if Ed's spotting or anything like that. And then 2 fire extinguishers, one's on my side and one's on Ed's side. Something ever happened, we'd be able to get to one or both from either side of the truck. And then up underneath here is our heater and dash system that we built. It's actually a small radiator that was built for a race car. And we ran 2 brake duct fans and built a box for it. And that actually functions the defrosters and heat and everything else. And GoPro batteries. Our old girl here, Pocahontas.
Yeah, there you go.
She's been with us since day one.
Little company.
She actually went 200 miles an hour in the rat rod too. So.
Oh yeah.
she's had a pretty exciting life. And that's pretty much Ed's side. Mastercraft 3G seats, same seats I use in trophy trucks in Baja. Yep. You know, a lot of people use them there, and been really happy with those seats. We wheeled 36 hours straight. On the first year, we were behind schedule and had to make up a lot of time. Yep. And they're like sitting in an energy bar.
That's awesome.
And that's and we don't have a relationship with them. Yeah. You know, again, it goes back to I'd rather pay for a product I trust than take one that I don't know. Yeah. And that's a product that I trust, and we have Mastercraft belts, and we've used their stuff in my own personal race cars for a lot of years, and they're good company, and I enjoy using their products also. But Ed does a good job keeping us in a pretty straight line with everything on his side over here. Right on.
Hey, glancing in there, I'm wondering, did we talk about your transmission?
Well, a little bit. GearFX did that transmission for us. It's all REM finished. It's an SM465, has a Novak, the good Novak parts in it, and GearFX put it together for us. Cool. And I've driven a lot of old 4-speed trucks, and those guys really did a nice job on it. It's silk. It's no noise. I mean, you rode in it.
Great. Yeah. No, it's awesome. All right, you guys, so I'm excited. I've been talking here with Fuzzy at GearFX Driveline in North Carolina. They built the gears for the FJ, the Expedition FJ, for Aaron's Expedition FJ. Tell us a little bit about what you do here. You guys have a fascinating history.
Oh, thank you.
And you build very high quality stuff. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you do here, and then we'll talk specifically about what you did for Aaron.
All right. Well, first, thank you guys for coming here and visiting. We love showing off what we do here. And,
right on.
So we're a high performance driveline company. We specialized in, started in NASCAR circle track driveline products, and have since branched out into high performance aftermarket, street, off-road.
In fact.
Yes.
So these are
our NASCAR 4-speed transmission. Yep. We run a lease program for teams. They can, just like their engine programs, they lease gears and transmissions. Some of the lower tier teams do. Well, even middle range teams do. And all the processes for durability, performance, assembly quality, and all that, we push that throughout anything we do, whether it's street, off-road, high performance aftermarket. It's all treated the same.
And what you were saying earlier was that it doesn't matter what customer comes in the front door. Right. You guys have a time-tested process that you use on everything that comes out of this shop. Right. Right.
Right. Yeah. From the way we disassemble and take notes and clean parts, MagnaFlux, crack check parts. And then we have some value-added features we can do to increase durability and performance, such as shot peening, an aftermarket ring and pinion to add some durability, or the REM surface finishing, which is a polishing process that adds durability. It helps reduce heat, helps increase fuel economy. So those are all things we can add.
Great. Now, can you tell me a little bit about what you did for the Expedition FJ for Aaron at the garage shop?
Right. So Aaron had existing parts, and we rebuilt his front and rear center sections for him. And we've also done his manual transmission and his transfer case. Right. You know, same things we can offer a NASCAR customer. We can rem those ring and pinions to add the durability to it.
Right. Now, one thing I'm not trying to jinx anything, but one thing I've talked about Aaron about is his success rate has been very high currently, or with this current setup.
Yeah, that's so far.
So far. Like I said, you got some wood here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna knock on it.
Yeah.
We've had real good success.
It'd probably be driver error more than product error.
Right. Probably. Well, actually, it was funny. I was talking to Aaron. He goes, "If I break this FJ, it's my fault."
Yeah.
So, what else should we know about what you do here, and what else should we know?
Well, we can rebuild any manual transmission or rear gear unit if the customer's looking to change ring and pinions.
Yep.
Ratio wise, because maybe they put some bigger tires on their vehicle and they need to change ring and pinions. We can do that. We can install a nozzle locker if they like. We can change up anything they want, really, driveline wise.
Right on.
We're also a Dynotech drive shaft dealer, so we can have drive shafts made to fit. Sometimes if somebody's changing a unit out to a completely different style, you're gonna have to have custom drive shafts made too, so we can handle that as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You guys.
It's awesome.
So Fuzzy took time out today. He's running a busy shop. Took time out to talk to us. So go and check him out. All right.
Thank you.
These are your rod holders.
Yeah, we go to the beach. We go to the beach.
Cool.
But I never, back when we built this, there was really not a latch on the system that was going to carry a 37-inch tall tire, 10 gallons of fuel, and a beer cooler.
You just talked about time and the time it takes to go in and out of the gate. And I know you guys run pretty lean when you're out there on an expedition, right?
Very
because now tell me about that a little bit.
The first year we went on the trip, it was the first time we ever did it. I mean, a 30-day trip. And we always tried to be prepared for our 2-3 day trips. So we went into like bring the kitchen sink mode.
Got it.
And we did.
Yeah.
We had a little generator, we had this, we had, we just had so much stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very organized. It was for what we had, but we really worked hard over the last 2 years to make it better.
Right.
Because 7 days, even 5 days is one thing, 7 days is another. When you hit that 10-day mark, you got a mental list a mile long of things when you wake up in the morning like, this is gonna annoy me to do this function, because it's not right.
Right.
And that's where we would keep a list in the console. And through the years, our list got smaller and smaller, and all of a sudden we had a truck that was comfortable, and now we're just refining things to make it even that much more efficient. Because when we go for 30 days, you figure you got 10 hours of daylight-ish, maybe 8 in October to wheel. And if it takes me an hour a day, if I lose an hour a day, whether it's setting up my tent or doing this or packing or undoing this or deploying that over the course of 30 days is 30 hours.
Right.
So that to me is like 3 days of wheeling. That's
Absolutely.
3 days of time.
Right.
That's gone.
Yeah.
So that's why we try to be very efficient. I mean, we're covering, this year over 5,000 miles in 30 days, primarily, off-road. I think Ed's estimating we'll be 150, maybe 200 miles on asphalt. So, and some of it's pretty slow going, and some of it you can make some time.
That's not easy. I mean, Ed is working to find that course, right?
Yeah, it has its moments.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've got to buckle down, turn the overheads on, and sit back and enjoy the wildlife you see at night with the overheads that you wouldn't see during the day. And it adds a whole nother perspective to wheeling at night out there. But we enjoy that, but we try not to do it if we don't have to, because it's going to catch up to you.
Yep.
And you're going to be tired, and then it's going to become, it's still fun, but it becomes like the train needs to stop and the engine needs to rest.
Yeah.
So basically when we get to camp, we open up our stuff and we'll get the cooler out. The cooler ride's right here. It's back at the shop. And right here is all our cooking stuff. It's real accessible once everything's out of the truck. Basically, we close this one door right here.
Yep.
And then, we put our table down and
kitchen kit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty basic stuff. I mean, that's our dry food. It's already packed for the trip. You know, sometimes we get that one out, but not very often. When we do, we just put it right back. But this is our cooking gear. You know, so that just comes out. And then here's that's our spice box. And then we have some bags in there because we know we're going to have a little leftover food.
Yep.
But that's, you know, that's our spice box. Sit right there, and you got your space.
Away.
Your grill's over here, and you know, everything you need is right there. And then also, while we're cooking, we have 2 camp lights that are installed right there. They come on. So we got camp lights for at night. Underneath here, you know, we keep a lot of our stuff that you have stuff that there's no right space for it.
Yeah.
No matter where you put it, it's annoying. So when we built the racks back here, what we did is we used perforated steel. And that way we can bungee things from the top. Yep. And then we can also bungee and tie wrap things to the bottom. It's just, wherever you put it, it's annoying. Right. But it's up there out of the way. We have a small first aid kit here, and then we carry a bigger trauma kit in the back with a little more extensive first aid. A really good friend of mine that has an upholstery shop. He's the same guy that made all the map covers, the overhead map pockets and all that stuff for us. This little bag right here holds all our utensils, plates, and stuff like that. Cool. And we primarily use paper plates and plastic. We pack it all out, obviously, but we do that because it's less things in the truck to be rattling around. It's, you know, I pull this bag out, we're eating. Right. I don't have to get done with dinner and figure out where I'm going to wash dishes, where I'm going to do this, where I'm, you know, and it's not flopping around in the truck and, you know, chingling and changling and all that. You know, this truck has no rattles. None. You can't do that for 30 days. So, but that's pretty much our basic, basic setup. It's really, you know, very simple. In the last 2 years, we spent close to 80 days on the trail with, you know, repetitively with each other. And that's what we learned, to make it smooth so we can sit down, relax, enjoy what's around us, enjoy the campfire. You know, I don't have the patience for deploying all this stuff. And when you just don't need it. You know, I mean, it's just I like the basics. I mean, some people like to be comfortable, and I'm all for that. Sometimes I'm jealous. There is moments when it's 12 degrees out and you're in your one-man tent. The rooftop tent does look really comfy. So, but each his own, and that's just, we like to maximize our trail time, and the way we do that is very minimalistic packing and deployment and putting things away.
All right, now this side of the rig, we don't have to be so careful, right? This is,
I'm allowed here sometimes depends on who you ask at the shop.
Right on. Right on. All right, so what do we got here?
Well, basically my side of the truck I designed around what I felt comfortable with. And actually the dashboard in this truck is the exact same dash that's in the 39, the land speed truck. So it's very familiar to me, and I'm comfortable with it, and I like it. You know, if it works for me at 200 miles an hour, it's going to work for me at 2 miles an hour. And all the parts are interchangeable. And we had some in inventory from old restorations. So,
that's nice too.
Yeah, that worked out good too. So what we did is basically gutted the entire interior of this truck. And when we did that, I wanted a much better braking system. And when we chose to do that, what I did is we put in an AP brake pedal box, which is the same that they use in a NASCAR race car. And what that allows us to do is run dual master cylinders. And one of the cool features of this truck, if you're going down a long, slippery slope and you stand on your brakes, your front brakes lock up and you can't steer. With dual master cylinders, I have a balance bar and I have a knob on the dash. I can adjust my brake bias front to rear. So in that situation, if it starts doing that and the front tires lock, I just dial all the brakes to the rear, lock it down, and just ski down the hill.
Right on. And then you're not skidding. Those front wheels aren't skidding.
The front wheels are rolling, the back ones are locked. And you just drag yourself. It just drags it down the hill.
That's nice.
It works really well. It's a lot of fun. So, you know, that's one of the features it has. The gas pedal is also a solid mount, a solid rod, solid mount. I like that because I like an instant throttle feel. I don't like cables. You know, you get cables and cables break, and you know, it's an aluminum 3/8 aluminum rod with, you know, rod ends on it, and you know, same car that gas pedal they run in a NASCAR race car. So that works out really well. All the electronics on the dash. People look at it and they're like, oh, she's just a lot of stuff. Actually, it's less stuff than you probably have in your vehicle. Right. You know, it's just laid out differently.
And it's analog switched, right? So everything is just switched right on the dash.
Yep, everything's switched on the dash. There's no fuses. It has resettable breakers that'll come back on. If you have a short, they'll go off, cools down, system reboots and comes back up, and you don't have to touch it.
5-point harness, quick release steering wheel, two fire extinguishers up front. And it looks like you fabbed this cage.
Yep, and when we built this cage, the FJs have just the way they're designed is very difficult to get driver protection. I mean, you can get a cage, but the main hoop ends up being back here on the wheel tub. Yeah. So we designed a cage. This has a hoop in it along the top of the wheel tub, and then our cage comes off of here, forward, up and over. And then obviously we went in and put NHRA funny car style cages in. It's about a 10-point cage where it attaches to everything. Got it. You know, there's a lot of struts that you can't see that are behind the seats, you know, and then the seat rack is completely tied to the cage. So if the cage, the reason I tie the seats to the cage is if the cage moves, I want the seat to go with it. Because if the seat's attached to the floor and you take a hard enough hit where the cage moves, well, it's coming at you. Yeah. It's coming at you. Yeah. So I want the seat to be, you know, within reason. I'm not talking it's going to move the other side of the truck, but I want the seat to be able to go with the cage in that situation. And I have a lot more faith in the DOM tubing. You know, it's a combination of 120 wall and 095 wall DOM ground tubing. Yeah. I have a lot more faith in that than I do the sheet metal on the floor of this truck. Right.
50-year-old truck.
Yeah. So, you know, so that's kind of how we designed that cage. And then when we did design it, it has crossbars across each one of the heads there. Cool.
Tell me about the safety light on the dash there. This is a big old fat.
The beer light.
The beer light.
The beer light. That's the beer light.
5 o'clock every day.
5 o'clock it goes off. That light was through something we learned. Yeah. The first year we went on the trip, the fan was on a manual switch. And you had to constantly watch it. And very rarely did you have to turn it on. Obviously your climate engineer passed or something like that. You could turn the fan on before you even start. But you know, you get in like that and you're looking around and this is beautiful, and you know, you're really focused on your environment, you forget to look at the gauge. Yeah. And I did that a couple times and I seen 225, 230, and it's like, yeah, you know, we got to fix this. Yeah. And so we got back to the shop, and last year Steve, the wiring guy, I told him, you know, went over the list of problems and things that we could do better with him in his area. And I said, we need to fix the fan. It needs to come on by itself. And I need a warning light, because if now the fan's coming on by itself, you can't really hear the fan because it's a brushless spa fan. So we need a warning light for high temperature. Yeah. And so that's just a warning light to let, if all else fails, when that light comes on, it makes you do a gauge check.
Now I can see your power routed. Tell me just a little bit about your power system in here.
We run dual batteries. And the reason we do that is, again, redundancy. Yep. And we have a really big battery in the back that we use in camp at night for our camp lights and charging and things like that. And then we have a secondary battery. It's an emergency battery that'll start the truck. It'll crank it and start it. And it's underneath Ed's seat over there. And you know, it's another system you need to manage, because we don't have any low, I mean, we have a voltmeter, but you know, so what we try to do during the day, and Ed usually does this, is we'll start on our big battery, and for a while we'll run on both, and you know, we kind of alternate back and forth to kind of work the battery, so they're not sitting dormant, and you know, they're getting drawn and on and charged. So you know, and that's one of the systems that, you know, Ed manages along with the navigation, is he'll take care of the batteries. We have white interior lights for when we have to stop at night and look at a map. And then when Ed just wants a quick look, I have red interior so we don't have to stop, because when you turn the white light on, it's hard to see at night. So we got a white and red lights on
cool.
you know, for the nighttime over both seats. And then down here is our start button. Basically, we have an ignition switch that we turn on, and that ignites the system. The reason we have those two separate is if we have to use diagnosis an engine problem, we just need to spin it over and kind of hear something. We can do that without firing the motor.
Right.
And then, you know, off to the side here is all, you know, is our overhead lights. You know, so those are all intact. Over here, for the couple electric gauges we have left, if you do have a failure, you can hit a gauge reset. That'll reset all the electric gauges. And sometimes they get a little quirky, and you hit that reset and they come right back to life.
You've got the mile marker remote here.
Yep, that's this is really handy. I mean, I carry a manual winch handle. We carry it in the top of the roof rack, just in case you get in a situation, so, oh, the battery died, or something. I mean, we've never had that, but I just feel better having both. You know, anytime you have like two things talking to each other through air, you know, I really like to have both. But I know we've used it quite a bit, and it's been really handy. It's a lot better than the cable, and I believe it's a lot safer, because you don't have a cable getting wrapped around the tires, you know, and usually Ed's running the winch, so he can really get in a safe spot. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, cool.
But don't leave your manual handle at home. Don't do that. Not saying replace it, I say try it. And then we use a lot of, you know, tie wraps. If we have a little rattle or something, you know, or, you know, a lot of our stuff's tie wrapped in that we don't use very much. If we get it out, we can put it back. And
zip ties are essential kit.
But you got to get the good ones.
Yeah.
You got to get the good ones that have the metal insert. If you try screwing around with the plastic ones, it's nothing but frustration. You got to get the high quality Super Duty ones that have the metal insert in them. And I fasten a lot of stuff with them because it's easy. You know, and I carry these right beside my seat. So it's that simple.
Cool.
You know, and you don't need all these fancy mounts and stuff. Just tie wrap that thing in there, it'll be fine.
Zipper down.
Zipper down and go.
Zipper down, it's not going to rattle.
It's not going to go anywhere. And if it does rattle, let's put more on it. Eventually, it's going to fix itself. So,
right on. Is that about it on the inside?
I think that's about it.
All right. All right. Hey, man, thanks for walking us around the rig. This thing is an amazing beast. Tell us anybody that you want to do, any of your partners you want to shout out to, and then for the folks watching, tell them how to follow along.
There's so many people that are behind this program. You know, Drew Patey from Safety Clean's one of my mentors, and Fuzzy and Tom and Goose, you know, from PAC Racing Springs, Rob Riley from Pabst Blue Ribbon, Ed Whitty from Mile Marker Winches. I mean, you know, the list kind of goes on and on. You know, Turo Tire guys, Joe and Nathan, they've done. Everybody's really took their own area, especially whether their product or whatever in the truck, and really took it with a passion and provided us some really quality equipment to do what we do. And with that being said, we couldn't do what we do without the people's interest that are watching it. And we like bringing the history that we find and we see. Our trips, they're not about the truck, and you know, they're not about Aaron, they're not about Ed. We want you guys to see and feel what we see, and mainly experience what our forefathers experienced, whether it was on the Oregon Trail or you know, the California Trail or the mining. You know, those men and women went through a lot of hardships to be Americans. And I really think I appreciate that. And when you sit on top of a mountain at 11,000 feet and see some of that mining equipment that those men and women drug up there, it's just phenomenal. It really makes you appreciate being here. And it's a team effort, you know, with all our partners, all the guys at the shop, Ed, and mostly the people that follow it and take interest in it, and the people we talk to at the shows. And it's really humbling to have that many people that are interested in what we do. And who we are, and my invitation to them is they're always welcome to, you know, join us. You know, we're going to start doing some things next year. little
Cool.
cat out of the bag, maybe
Yeah.
some stuff with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And we're going to start doing some stuff where we can get more people out and enjoy the kind of style of off-roading and expedition style things that we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, go out and find cool things and enjoy time with your family in the outdoors.
You guys are a good, you're a great reminder, just your take talking about, talking over the last few days. There's plenty to see that people don't see a lot of. There's plenty of expeditions out there right here in North America. Plenty of new places to see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Moab and Zion, it's all great stuff, but if you can Google it and see a picture of it, I'm not so interested in going there. You know, it's you know, it's like Ed's old adage, you know, he doesn't look at roads on maps, he looks at mine holes.
Yeah.
And then he figures out how we're going to get to it.
Yeah.
The least amount of roads going to the mine, the better.
Right.
So, and the ones that are really entertaining are the ones that have no roads.
Yep.
So.
Okay, you guys are taking off now in about a week. You guys are taking off.
a week from today.
Week from today, you guys are taking off, and you're going to do the Continental Divide, and it's going to be another 5,000-mile trek or so.
Yeah.
And look forward to catching that, and look forward to meeting you out there on the trail.
Yeah,
too.
I'm looking
Spend a
forward to
little
having
time.
you guys join us, and we can all learn some stuff together, and
Cool.
you know, and expand on what is already a really good adventure.
Yeah.
It's always fun with more people.
That's right.
So,
Hey, Aaron, thanks a
for
lot,
everybody.
man. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.